Hello everybody, this is another Hot Wheels collector video. Today we are going to be taking a look at the 2024 G case, and my goodness how time flies. It literally feels like yesterday that I was reacting to the 2023 Q case, and now we're already nearly halfway through 2024's stuff, which is crazy to think about. This is a great mix of cars. We've got plenty of new castings here, and we've also got tons of new recolors as well, which there are some really good ones as well. But before we go any further, I must shout out Ministry of Diecast for this footage. Without him, this video would not be possible at all, so make sure to check out his channel as well as the original video. Both of those will be linked in the description of this video, so please do check out his channel and subscribe to him, as well as check out that original video. His video is edited differently to mine, so his video goes through all of the stuff just randomly, so he goes through all of the stuff in the case all together, whereas I will be splitting the video up into two halves. We'll first of all take a look at everything new for this case, and then we will take a look at everything returning for this case. But without further ado, let's get straight into this reaction then. As I've just said, firstly we're going to take a look at everything new for this case. So the first car we have in this case is the 52 Chevy. Now this thing has been painted in what appears to be slightly metallic white. It does receive side and top tampo work with a nice gold theme going on there, and it's rolling on the 5-spoke wheels, which have been done in black with a white lip to them, and these wheels also do have white walls to them. This thing looks very period correct. I think those wheels go very nicely with those white walls with the rest of the styling of the car, and overall I will definitely be looking for this thing for my collection. Next up, we do have a brand new casting for this case. This is the Fantasy Rapid Pulse. This thing does receive side tampo work, has been painted in glossy white, and is rolling on the Aerodisc wheels, which have been painted in chrome. I personally won't be adding that to my collection, however I do think it looks pretty cool and looks pretty good for a fantasy casting. I quite like the colour scheme going on here, and overall I don't really have any complaints with how it looks. Pretty cool. Next up we have another brand new casting, but this is licensed. This is the Hyro Hatia Merc. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I've probably butchered it though. This thing does receive side and front tampo work. Has been painted in this very odd, what appears to be a metallic green colour. Really weird colour, but it does look pretty cool on this casting. And this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke wheels, which have been done in black with a white lip to them. And these do receive white walls. I'll be adding this to my collection because it's a brand new licensed casting. Next up we do have a fantasy motorbike. I personally am not interested at all. This is the HW 450F. It has been done in orange. It is rolling on the off-road motorcycle wheels, which have been painted in chrome orange, and this thing does appear to only have side tampo work. That's a big pass from me. I'm just not interested at all. Next up we do have the 68 Dodge Dart. This is a really cool dragster looking car, which I am a big fan of. I will be adding it to my collection. This thing has been painted in glossy white, does receive side and top tampo work, and is rolling on the 5-spoke muscle wheels, which have been painted in chrome. Next up we have another brand new casting for this case. This is another licensed one. This is the Jaguar Mark 1. This thing does receive side and front tampo work, has been painted in this glossy grey colour, which I do think suits this casting quite nicely. A great way to debut this thing, in my opinion. And this thing is rolling on these steely wheels, which have been done in black with a chrome lip to them. This is another one which I'm definitely going to be hunting down. I think it looks very good for a mainline, and overall I really don't have any complaints looking at this thing on this video. Looks really cool. Next up we do have the Fiat 500e. This is a massive pass from me, not really that interested at all. This thing does receive front and side tampo work, has been painted in this very bright glossy blue, and is rolling on the 6-spoke Japanese style wheels, which have been painted in chrome orange. I just don't like the way this thing looks. I'm not a fan of the orange colour scheme going on here, and I'm not a fan of that blue colour either. Next up we have something cooler though, in my opinion at least. This is the 19 Ford Ranger Raptor in the HKS livery. This thing does receive side and top temple work, has been painted in what appears to be metallic dark blue, and this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke off-road wheels which have been done in black with a chrome lip to them. This thing did come out in the C case in black, or it might have even been the B case, I think it was, but I prefer this dark blue version a lot more over the original black release of this year. Next up we do have the Ford F-150 Lightning Custom. This thing does receive side and top temple work, has been painted in glossy black, and this thing is rolling on the steely wheels which have been done in black with a white lip to them. I'm a big fan of this recolor. I quite like this casting. I know a lot of people don't really like it, but I don't think it's that bad at all, and overall I probably will be adding this to my collection. Next up we have another brand new casting for this case, and this is another licensed one. This is the BMW M3 Wagon. It does receive side and top temple work, has been painted in what appears to be slightly metallic blue, and this thing is rolling on the 10-spoke Y design wheels which have been painted in white. This is a really nice casting, which is kind of Hot Wheels' own take on the M3 because the M3 Wagon doesn't exist in real life. So this is based off of the standard M3 but made into a wagon. Really cool. Next up we do have the El Segundo Coupe. This is a fantasy casting which I'm personally not going to be adding to my collection. This thing does receive side and top temple work, has been painted in metallic blue, and this thing is rolling on the Phil Realman wheels which have been painted in chrome yellow or chrome gold. Next up we do have the Dragon Blaster. This is a fantasy casting I'm not interested in at all. It looks very, very childish and clearly is aimed at a younger demographic. This thing has been done in a very odd blue colour. It does receive top temple work, and this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke wheels which have been painted in chrome yellow or chrome gold. Next up we do have another fantasy casting which I'm not interested in at all. Although it is a treasure hunt, I still won't be picking this up for my collection. I'm not one of them people who collects it just because it's rare. I only collect what I like, and I really just don't like this thing if I'm honest. This is the Dragon Wagon. It does receive side temple work. It is rolling on the 5-spoke wheels which have been painted in yellow. Oh, and this car has been done in this yellowish orange colour, if you can classify it as a car anyway. But yeah, it's been done in this very weird yellowish orange colour, which isn't all that bad, but as I've said, I'm not a fan of this casting at all. Next up we do have the Nissan Skyline RS KDR 30. This is a really nice release of this casting. We have already seen it in purple this year, and it does return in this metallic army green colour. It does receive rear and side temple work, and is rolling on these steely wheels which have been done in black with a chrome red lip to them. Overall, I do prefer the purple version, which was done in metallic purple and came out in the 2024 B case. However, I do think this version is still pretty cool and is well done. Next up we do have a really cool one. I like this thing a lot. This is the Volkswagen T2 pickup. This thing does receive side and front temple work. It has been done in this very light glossy grey colour, and this thing is rolling on the Aerodisc wheels which have been partly painted in chrome. The outer lip of these wheels haven't been done in chrome, which is very unusual. Usually the entire wheel is done in the same colour with these aero discs, but nope, not on this model. They look so good. They look like a totally different wheel to me. Looks really, really cool. Next up we do have another really nice one. This is the 72 Stingray convertible being painted in glossy red. It does receive side and rear temple work. It has been given the retro 5-slot wheels which have been painted in chrome, and overall I think this is a really nice recolor of this casting. I bet it looks even better in person. Next up we have the regular version of the Super Treasure Hunt for this case. This is the Audi 90 Quattro. I love this casting. This thing does receive side and top temple work as well as front temple work. So it's got tons of temple work detailing. It has been painted in what appears to be slightly metallic dark blue, and this thing is rolling on the Aerodisc wheels which have been painted in white. Overall, this is a really solid release of this casting, although I do prefer the 2023 versions in white and red, but I still can say that this is a really nice release of this casting, which is great to see. Next up, we have another really cool one. This was a brand new casting for 2023, just like the Audi 90 Quattro. This is the Porsche 911 Carrera RS 2.7. Being painted in glossy red, this thing does receive side and front tamper work, being done in a very factory fresh clean look. And this thing is rolling on the 5-slot retro style wheels, which have been done in black with a chrome lip to them. Overall, this is a really solid release of this casting. Oh, it also does have rear tamper work as well. Almost forgot to mention that. Tons of tamper work detailing on that one as well, just like the Audi 90 Quattro. Looks fantastic, as I've said. This next one is also brand new, as you will know because we are going through the brand new cars right now. This is the 55 Chevy Bel Air Gasser. This thing does receive side and top tamper work. Has been done in this very dark reddish brown colour. It's almost like a wardrobe red colour. Anyways, this thing is rolling on the same wheels as the Porsche, the retro 5-slot wheels, being painted in black with a nice chrome orange lip to them. This is a really nice release of this casting as well. Next up, we do have the Humvee. I'm just not a big fan of this casting because the body of it is actually completely plastic. This body has been done in dark blue though, and this is a really nice release of this casting. This thing does receive side and top tamper work and is rolling on the off-road beadlock style wheels, which have been done in grey. Overall, this is not a bad release of this casting at all, but personally, I just don't like this casting. And the reason, as I've said, is because it is largely made out of plastic, which makes this thing look and feel a little bit cheap. Next up, we do have the minecart. This thing does receive side, front and rear tamper work, so tons of tamper work detailing on this thing. This thing has been done in grey, and it is rolling on the aerodisc wheels, which have been done in black. Overall, this thing looks really cute and cool. It's definitely not an ugly one. I actually quite like this thing for a fantasy casting. Next up, we do have another fantasy casting. This one I don't like as much. This is the Heavy Hitcher. It does receive side tamper work, has been done in this dark blue colour. However, its body is plastic, so it hasn't been painted dark blue. And this thing is rolling on the 5-spoke muscle wheels, which have been done in black with a yellow lip to them. Overall, I'm just not a big fan of this casting, and this release really isn't it for me. And the final new car for this mix is a fantastic one, the Honda Civic Si. This thing did come out in gold this year, and it does return in this metallic white colour, which looks fantastic. I prefer this version over the gold one, if I'm honest. This thing does have rear and top tamper work, and is rolling on the Phil Riemann wheels, which have been done in this chrome bronze colour. I love this release of this casting. I think it looks so cool and stunning. Definitely one I'm going to be pursuing. And now we've taken a look at everything new, let's take a look at everything returning from the previous case. So jumping straight into the cars returning from the previous case then, we first of all have the Mighty K. This is a pretty cool one. Next up, we have the Runaway Rescue. I'm personally not a big fan of this thing. I don't really like how it looks, and it's also a fantasy. Next up, we have the Batmobile. This is another one which I just don't really like. I won't be picking this thing up. Next up, we have the Punk Rod. This is not a bad looking one, but it's just another one which I'm not interested in picking up. Next up, we do have the Audi RS e-tron GT. I'm a big fan of this casting, however I don't really like the colour. Next up, we do have the Mazda Autozam. I'm quite a big fan of this thing. I'm a big fan of that colour on it. Next up, we have the 94 Audi Avant RS2. This is a really nice one. Next up, we do have the Nissan Patrol Custom. The casting's cool, but I'm not a big fan of that green colour on it. Next up, we do have the Shark Bite. Again, this is just not one that I'm interested in. Next up, we have the Porsche 911 Carrera. This is a really cool and unique one, being that it is a keyring. Next up, we have the Tesla Model Y. I'm a big fan of this thing. I think it looks pretty cool. Next up, we do have the 70 Plymouth Barracuda. This is a really nice recolour of this casting. And next, we have the Zinger 21C. I love the colour on this thing, and the casting is fantastic. Next up we have the Ford Performance Supervan 4. This is a really nice casting and is being executed fantastically. Next up we do have the 71 El Camino. This thing looks really cool and was a great super treasure hunt in the previous case. Next up we do have the Ford GT40. I love the colour on this thing and it has so much tempo work. Next up we do have the 5 alarm. I really just don't like this thing. It does not appeal to me at all. Next up we do have the brick and mortar. This is another one which I will be taking a hard pass on. Next up we do have the pterodactyl. Although I'm not a big fan of the casting, I really do like the colour scheme and tempo work on this thing. Next up we do have the custom auto. This thing doesn't look too bad, but I'm not really that interested. Next we have the 15 Dodge Charger RT. This is an alright casting, but I'm not a big fan of the colour on this thing. It's a bit too bright for me. Next up we do have the Mod Speeder. This is another fantasy which I'm not interested in at all. Next up we do have the Drift and Brake. This is another one which I won't be adding to my collection, although it does look pretty cool. Next up we do have the Trouble Decker. I'm a big fan of the colour scheme on this thing. Next up we do have the Supercharged. I really just don't like the look of this thing. Next up we do have the Lowlux. This is the final returning car for this case. It looks pretty cool. I like the colour on this thing and overall it's not too bad. But there you go, that is it for the 2024 G case. What do you guys think of this case? Do you guys like it? Let me know in the comments section down below. Overall, I'm a big fan of this case. I think it's got a very nice selection of stuff, which I think most people will enjoy. But anyways, that does lead me onto my ranking. So what is my third, second and first place for this mix of cars? So in third place, I'm going to be giving that position to the Jaguar Mark 1. A brand new casting for this case. I think it looks fantastic and I think the execution of this version of this model looks fantastic. I can't wait to see where this casting pops up next. If I'm honest, I can definitely see this thing coming to premium quite quickly. I can picture it being in some kind of classic set in car culture. Next up for second place, I am going to be giving this position to the BMW M3 Wagon. This is another brand new casting for this case and it is fantastic. It just looks so great and again, I can't wait to see where this thing pops up. Again, I can see this thing coming to premium quite quickly. However, I think this car will be in Boulevards and not car culture next. And finally, that does lead me onto my first place car. So what is going to be my first place? In first place is going to be the Honda Civic Si in whites. I'm a big fan of this casting and this release is no exception to the releases we've seen in the past. It's just so great, looks really good. In fact, it might be my overall favourite release of that casting to ever come out, although it is very close with the red version, which was in the Honda Premium Mainline set a couple years back, and also the 2021 blue version. Both of those were fantastic. The gold version for this year is also really nice as well. I do prefer this white version over that gold version. But do you agree with my ranking? Let me know in the comments section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and what your favourite cars from the cases are. But anyways, that does lead me onto my overall score out of 10 for this mix of cars. So what am I going to give this case out of 10? It is going to be receiving a totally deserved, in my opinion, 9 out of 10. Overall, the new castings are phenomenal and some of the recolors here are fantastic. There's only a couple of recolors in here which are a bit meh, but overall a really solid case. I love pretty much everything here, if I'm honest, and there's some really nice repeats in here as well, which will give you a second chance to find those as well. But anyways, that is really it for this video. So if you guys did enjoy, make sure to like. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Remember, you can also press that notification bell so you do not miss new uploads. Remember, you can also share this video with any friends, family, or any groups who may be interested. But remember, don't feel pressure to if you don't feel like you have anybody who may be interested. You watching this video video all the way to the end means so much to me, and I really do thank you for making it all the way up until this point. But anyways, that is really it for this video, so I hope you guys did enjoy, and I really do hope to see you guys in the next one. See you guys then. Bye bye everyone.